Shout out to my guy Swish Out. He made this video called "We Are Witnessing the End of NBA Loyalty." And I find this video topic to be interesting because Jabari Parker said some shit today too about something along the lines of NBA loyalty and how the NBA is just different now in terms of who gets into certain teams and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and watch this shit, man. Let's see what my guy Swish Out's talking about.
Of this very dry NBA offseason to me has been loyalty and how it's been significantly exposed. Now, we've heard about NBA loyalty.
This has been one of the driest off seasons though, like dead ass. I cannot remember a drier off season. Maybe that's recency bias, but Jesus, this off season has been dry as hell.
And why it doesn't exist anymore for the longest. Personally, I felt like it died when Kawhi left San Antonio. I thought this man was destined to be a Spur forever, but he left, got traded out of the country, and immediately won a championship, showing exactly how much power players really have if they really want to flex it. I found this article earlier this year with a list of the current most loyal NBA players. It's really just the players that's been on their current teams the longest. And when I look at those top two roles and where their teams are specifically right now, I just found it interesting. Stephen Curry last playoffs pretty much carried the Warriors, averaged the most points he's ever had in a playoff run, shot the most shots, and really he didn't have no consistent offensive help. And that's ultimately why they lost. Yeah. And this offseason, all Golden State really did to me is lose Bob Myers, their GM that built this whole thing, lost Jordan Poole, who they just gave a massive contract to last year, and got back a 38-year-old Chris Paul, who shares the position with Stephen Curry. Dame is damn near teamless as the season approaches. Bradley Beal finessed the Wizards organization and got to land in paradise for him.
I feel like Dame's gonna open the season up just in a Trailblazer jersey at this point. Put your hands to the constellation. Hey, shout out to Gengar for the $5.
Just got off work, finished bringing back the bread for the community. Flexed biceps, flexed biceps, flexed biceps.
Really getting to the bag, man. Appreciate you. Hey, we gotta play Valorant more on the streams, man. I ain't gonna lie. It's just I've actually had shit to talk about for like 2 hours, and then by that 2 hour mark, chat, is when I start hitting like fatigue when it comes to the streaming shit, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Giannis is growing frustration with the imminent direction of that Milwaukee Bucks team, and Joel Embiid is in the middle of a disaster yet again. See, the problem with NBA loyalty to me is it comes with some clear sacrifice from one side. From the player's standpoint, it's normally a sacrifice of the middle of your prime, the last years of your prime, or just what's left of your championship window. And from the organization standpoint, it's normally a sacrifice of a clear direction for the team, aka the Wizards and the Trailblazers. This summer to me has been like the clearest example of why NBA loyalty is no longer a thing.
Can I give everything to the game still? Truth is, I've been asking myself this question at the end of the season for a couple years now. I just never openly talked about it. I don't care how many more points I score.
It's sad though, cause we're at the very least, chat, gotten to the point where like LeBron is genuinely thinking about retirement. You know what I'm saying? I understand motherfuckers might say that, yo, LeBron was faking it the whole time, but like, it's gotten to the point where it's even believable that he's thinking about retirement. And, you know, I just remember watching LeBron James in 2011 as a 26-year-old, you know what I'm saying? And now, bro, is dead ass like 38, 39, you know what I'm saying? Like, we might be seeing LeBron's son in the league in a couple years, bro. Like, time, like dead ass, man, time really does fly if you really think about it. You don't even have to think about it. Time just, you know, just flies.
Or what I can or cannot do on the floor. The real question for me is, can I play without cheating this game? The day I can't give the game everything on the floor is the day I'll be done. Lucky for you guys, that day is not today.
LeBron was like the first real example of player empowerment, how to use it to your advantage, how to gain leverage contractually, and how to keep teams on their toes when they have you. Even in these past playoffs, in like year 21, he's literally still doing it. That retirement hint he gave, quote unquote, after they lost to Denver, to me, that was just a message to Rob Pelinka to upgrade the team. And the Lakers, to me, they literally won the offseason, so it worked. As we know, LeBron is a master at using his leverage to his advantage, and he's really been doing it ever since he left Cleveland that first time. But If you look around the league, specifically this summer, you can easily...
Call me a glazer, but I might shed a couple tears when Bron retires.
I'm gonna shed multiple tears. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty much set. That's pretty much set. Because I feel like LeBron, for a lot of NBA fans, is, you know, he's the reminder of a whole last generation of basketball. A whole last generation of basketball that we, all of us, a lot of us grew up on. And it's because of his longevity, too, that, like, you know, a lot of people grew up on LeBron James. Motherfuckers that started watching basketball in 2016 can still say they grew up on LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers that started watching basketball in 2003 can also say that they grew up on LeBron James. So that's like literally a 20, 30 year gap of people that can say they grew up on LeBron James.
See why the NBA always has to be viewed as a business first and never really family. Bradley Beal finally got traded from homegrown Washington, where he got drafted, to championship now favorite Phoenix, where they're loaded. A move that's perfect for Bradley Beal and extremely ideal, because now he gets to play off ball if he wants to, and he's going to get the cleanest looks next to Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, obviously. This all happened practically for nothing on the Wizards side, because new management, they had no choice but to trade Bradley Beal wherever he wanted to go, because old management gave him a massive contract with the no trade clause.
I'm glad that even though it looks like the Wizards got nothing in return in a vacuum, that at the very least they decided to just blow it up and reset. I think certain teams in the league, bro, it's just time to blow it up and reset the culture. Reset the foundation of the team. And the Wizards are definitely number one. Definitely number one on that list. I would even argue the Raptors are up there too. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of other names right now. But the Clippers are getting close to that too. The Clippers, you know, if the Clippers don't get it done in the next 2 seasons, I would be open to just blowing that shit up altogether, bro. But yeah, man, the Celtics, not too much. The Bulls are another one. The Bulls are another one. How much are you really gonna stretch this DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine era, bro? Keep it a stack. You know what I'm saying? It might be a different story if you got a new core where Zach LaVine is the veteran. But this whole DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, trying to see when Lonzo Ball comes back era, that shit gotta stop, man. That shit gotta stop.
This allowed Bradley Beal to veto any trade or any destination that he doesn't really desire. And his current contract is so inexplicably large that the Wizards likely wouldn't have many suitors, especially for favorable packages. Just for the Wizards to get anything for him and to embrace a much needed, well overdue rebuilding direction and to get off that crazy contract, they had to take a 38-year-old Chris Paul. Now, luckily, they were able to flip Chris Paul for a much younger, much more fitting Jordan Poole. But that's a clear example of how organizations get screwed when holding on to a player way longer than they should. On the flip side of that very same trade, Stephen Curry. Obviously, he hasn't been done wrong in Golden State. He hasn't wasted his loyal years with Golden State. He won 4 championships. But Steph is still obviously giving Golden State unreal productivity on the court, and the team is at a very weird, stagnant spot, if you ask me. The Warriors really didn't address a lot of their problems this offseason, and Steph specifically, he deserves a shot to tie Magic and really make his case for the GOAT point guard debate. Re-signing Draymond Green is great, and keeping that big three together for possibly one last dance is great, but it didn't really tend to their lack of size, which really hurt them a lot last postseason. Getting old, unreliable.
Yeah, that's the thing about what the Warriors did this offseason, bro. They didn't really fix any of their issues, to be honest with you. Maybe they did, because what I did see with the Warriors in the playoffs was, yo, bro, aside from Curry, they legitimately have no on-ball creation. Like, deadass. Deadass, bro. The only person for them that had even remotely good on-ball creation was Jordan Poole. And he got clamped the fuck up. Clamped the fuck up. So I will say that Chris Paul helps in that department, but I also think a really big problem with them was, listen, bro, the league is caught up to that small ball shit. You know what I'm saying? There's not as much slow-footed bigs out there. The reason why small ball worked when it first came along was because of the fact that running Draymond Green at the 5 allowed you to have spacing that no one else in the league had. Allowed you to have offensively versatile lineups and switch everything that the rest of the league does not have. But the rest of the league has that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, the rest of the league has that now. And it's at a point where those taller bigs have become focal points of other offenses, and they're versatile as well. You know what I'm saying? They can take advantage of a Draymond Green offensively because of the combination of size and skill from big men nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Brittle 38-year-old Chris Paul is still weird, and I don't know if it was worth losing Jordan Poole for, even with the Draymond beef. And Clay's on the last year of his deal, so if this experiment doesn't work, it could possibly be a waste of the latter years of Steph's prime, and who knows, maybe the last year of the big three together. Giannis, he's now in a situation that to me seemed inevitable, where he's questioning now that he won that championship, how important is this loyalty thing really? He won that team a championship for the first time in 50 years. He won 2 MVPs and a Defensive Player of the Year wearing that uniform, and he's their leading all-time scorer. He doesn't owe much more to Milwaukee. Chris Middleton may be a good friend to Giannis, and he's obviously a big part of his story. He was like the closer to that championship team in my opinion. But I don't know if he's ever going to be quite the same with what seems to be a bad knee, and he's 32 years old. Drew Holiday has been great for the Bucks, literally a championship move 3 years ago, but he's about to be 30.
But you know what it is? I also think it's a cultural shift in the world in general. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of jobs now, they're not built to last 10, 15, 20 years. Not even just in the NBA, but just in the regular workforce. This idea of job hopping within like software engineering, job hopping is a very controversial topic, because essentially what people do is they go to a certain company for 2 to 3 years, and after that it financially benefits them to apply to other companies and get a raise at another company, and get like a better benefits package and all that shit. If they stay with that company that they stayed at, they wouldn't get as much of a raise. You know what I'm saying? And I think that applies to other whatchamacallit, like other avenues in life as well. I also think when it comes to how we view players, but also again how we view employees as well, like people value nowadays more diverse resumes and experiences, and how you translate your skills to other companies, and in the case of NBA players, other teams, as opposed to just, oh, you stay with this one company for 5 to 7 years. Like, I'd rather take someone, or this is what a lot of employers think, I'd rather take someone who worked at this place for 3 years, this place at 2, and this place for another 2, than this one dude who just stayed at this one place for those 7 years and just moved up slowly and slowly. You know what I'm saying? So, it's kind of fucked, but I get it, though. I get it.
33 on the last year of his deal if he chooses. It was great that they retained Brook Lopez and didn't lose him to like a Houston. He's a massive piece to their team. But he's 35, believe it or not. Last year, the Bucks, they were the oldest team in the NBA, and this year, they're still the oldest team in the NBA. So with Giannis about to be 29, still putting up godly MVP numbers every year, we don't even appreciate it no more. Does he want to possibly reboot with Milwaukee just to be loyal, or miss out on key free agents as their core continues to age in the middle of his prime? Or does he want to continue his Hall of Fame trajectory elsewhere, somewhere that more so aligns with his prime? And Giannis, he's on like an all-time trajectory. He doesn't really have many years to waste. Bro, look at the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. Do you know next year, he's basically the only player under contract for that team?
Oh and my God.
He essentially has 2 more years left on that deal.
Holy
that
shit.
Team is a train wreck right now. And even though it's things about Joel Embiid that I don't particularly like, I kind of feel sorry for him. This man already went through a messy training camp trade request that completely derailed the 2022 season with Ben Simmons. And 2 years later, he's literally in another one. Now, to be fair, it's not like Joel Embiid can completely blame Philly for his career, never making the conference finals, all that, because some of their shortcomings have been a result of his choke jobs. But for him, at almost 30, being injury prone, being an MVP, how many more times can you come into a season like this with this specific organization? I'm fully expecting a trade request sooner rather than later because the process is literally stuck. Look at the most obvious example, Dame right now.
I think what's gonna happen with Embiid is he is gonna ask out. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I think he's gonna ask out. He's gonna look at the situation and says, "Okay, we've capped out. Let me go to another team." But I also think that shouldn't be taken as Embiid is not taking accountability for his actions type shit. Because I am with the belief that I ain't gonna lie, a lot of these losses is because Embiid has underperformed. But at the same token, it's like injuries did play a factor, for being completely honest, as well. It's not just Embiid choking. And also, the personnel just was ass. You know what I'm saying? As much shit as we can give to Joel Embiid, a lot of that same shit can be given to a Ben Simmons, can be given to a James Harden. You know what I'm saying? I just think when it comes to blaming, who's to blame, it's never a black and white answer. And that's what a lot of questions in life, you know what I'm saying? It's never just a black and white answer. There's always a middle ground. There's always percentages. There's always the pie is to be split in some sort of fashion that isn't just this dude deserves all the blame, you know? But yeah, I think Embiid is gonna ask out though. That ass. And what's good, Kai, been here? If I said what's good, Kai, there would have been different connotations. You know what I'm saying? What's good, man?
He's in a situation where he's basically teamless.
And we're all even, man.
Years of greatness.
Is he a YouTube
They're literally
exclusive, bro?
hell-bent on not trading Dame for anything other than the packages they want. And honestly, Portland, they're really in no rush to trade Dame because the longer this stalls, the more it hurts Miami and wherever they're going to be as they put their whole summer on hold for Dame. And Dame, as obviously a player that has no time to waste. It's crazy because it feels like this whole time, Dame always wanted to be loved in Portland and he always wanted to avoid this ugly, messy divorce with Portland, just for this to ultimately be an ugly, messy divorce with Portland. They drafted your replacement without really any hesitation, and they're dragging their feet literally into the season with trading you, knowing that your career is on standby. Loyalty is literally dead. Even if you look at the most modern examples of somebody being quote-unquote loyal, Kobe, he requested a trade. After those glory days were over with Shaq and he was still in his prime producing, he didn't want to be there anymore. Luckily, they're the Lakers and they were able to grab players to help the second half of his prime. After D-Wade won his first championship, the next 4 years were bad. They couldn't get out the first round, and they even had a season where they won 15 games. Luckily, that's Miami, and they were able to get LeBron and Bosh. After Dirk won his first championship, it literally went downhill from that. Had a decade where they couldn't even win a playoff series. So like I said, loyalty, especially in today's NBA, it doesn't exist. It's outdated. It comes with a major sacrifice from one side, and it never really pans out. If you guys like this video,
I agree, man. I think loyalty is dead in the NBA. But in the grand scheme of things, I do think it's a net positive. I do think it's still a net positive. Not to say that players haven't crossed the line. I've sat up here and said that Damian Lillard, in my opinion, has crossed the line. But I think that's the effects of decades of players being used and abused by owners and GMs. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these players in the past, we have so many countless situations where players have given their all to a franchise, wasted prime years of their career, were all-time great talents to ass franchises who weren't able to surround them with the proper help, the proper talent. And as individuals, these players retire, at least in their perspective, and in a lot of people's perspective, not getting their rightful respect. And also, a lot of this is a product of us as fans. We have put an nth factor to rings and ring culture. I'm not going to act like I haven't been a part of that. I'm not going to act like rings don't matter as well. But because of ring culture and how we value certain rings, yeah, a lot of these players are going to choose the situation where they can stack up rings so they can get the respect that they feel like they deserve as competitive individuals. You know what I'm saying? So if this is the name of the game, if the name of the game for a majority of people who I want this certain level of respect from is, yo, 5 beats out 4, I'm gonna do my best to put myself in position to get the 5 to beat out the 4. And I'm talking about rings for those who aren't catching on to that. But no, it makes sense. And I do think it's a net positive, but it is sad though. I will say it is sad. I do miss the days where, like, if a player gets drafted, there's a good chance this player is going to be on this franchise for 10, 11, 12 years. You know what I'm saying? I do miss that. I do miss, you know, when a player signed a long-term deal and that shit says 5 years on it, it felt like I'm committed to at the very least 4. But now when I see someone sign a 4 to 5 year deal, I deadass have no idea how long that person will actually stay with that team. Because if they're unhappy in 2 years, they can just sit out, boycott games, and take the hits financially because they're rich as fuck and they can't take the hits financially. You know what I'm saying? And as a fan of the game, I also like rivalries. And I think the reason why rivalries are, you know, they're having trouble being formed within the NBA is partially due to the fact that there is no loyalty in the NBA. It's hard to build storylines. It's hard to build rivalries. It's hard to build team rivalries when everyone is just switching left and right every 2 years. I can't even say 2 to 3. It's every 1 to 2 years. Everyone is just switching teams. How can you build continuity? How can you build disdain for another team or another player if, again, you just keep on fucking moving and all you care about is what's the best situation to get the bag? You know what I'm saying? Or get that ring. But I respect it, though. Shout out to Switch Out for the video.